Okay, all right. Just wanted to talk about our post-spring, kind of take you back to our three goals that we had coming into spring. First goal was to get our edge back, mentally and physically tougher. I really feel like our guys came a long way. Like I said before, we strained them physically when we had the pad days. It was a lot of offense against defense and just basic football. Our second goal was to have a basic understanding of the offense and defense, and what I say is foundation of the offense and defense. That way they can actually get better in the summer, have a great understanding instead of develop bad habits. I feel pretty good about where we're at with that. We were very basic, by design. There wasn't a whole lot of scheming. You saw the spring game, a lot of basic football. But I feel like our guys got a good understanding, and I think moving forward in the summer they'll have a chance to get better. And then our third goal was to develop a two-deep depth chart. When I say depth chart, it was probably more important to put them in the right positions. And there was a lot of guys that we moved around, gave them multiple opportunities to try them out in certain positions, and we came up with a post-spring depth chart. Now I want to say this before I go through this. I want to say this, make this clear that these positions are going to be wide open once fall camp starts. We got young guys coming in. We got junior college guys coming in. We've actually got guys that we feel like will improve, and a lot of them will have a chance to improve greatly before we go. But I'm going to start with the defensive side of the football and just kind of take position by position and give you some names of the guys that ended up, as far as the depth chart is concerned. I'm going to start with the defensive line up front. Now, the thing that stands out to me about the defensive line is we got a bunch of older guys that are experienced, which is a good thing. Defensive end, D Ford, I've talked about him before. Being a pass rushing guy, he can really put some pressure on the quarterback. We also have Craig Sanders at the same position, leaving spring. On the other defensive end, Kenneth Carter, a guy that's played inside in the past, and Coach Garner moved him outside. Very physical guy, and he improved his pass rushing as the spring went on. And Nosa Igwe also had a very solid spring. And the thing that stands out, those are all four older guys, and they've got experience, and that's a good thing. Now moving inside, Jeffrey Whitaker and Ben Bradley at one of the defensive tackles spots, or really the nose spot. Both those guys did a very good job. Ben, as spring went on, you could see he improved greatly, and that's what usually happens with the junior college guys. And that tackle, Gabe Wright and Angelo Blackson, both guys juniors to be. Both of them are athletic, and really feel like they improved. But up front, that's some veteran guys, and so we feel good with the foundation we have moving forward. Now I'm going to take you through the back end, starting with the star position, Justin Garrett. You heard about him during the spring, and really felt like that he was one of our more consistent guys. And then Therese Robinson, another guy, and you're talking about that star position. It's a very versatile position that you've got to be able to cover people. You've got to play kind of sometimes inside the box at a linebacker position, then also coach is going to blitz that position. So it takes a very athletic guy, and both those guys can definitely do that. Moving inside to the Mike linebacker spot, Chris Frost and Jake Holland. At Mike, at Will Casanova McKenzie, and Javier Mitchell. And Javier Mitchell's a guy that coach was really, thought he came on. And I kind of want to put in Ladarius Owens too, that either or of those positions. And you're talking about a guy that's played defensive end the last couple of years, and is moving back to the back end and really came on. And he's a guy that really has great effort, and coach was high on him, and so he'll be in the mix at those linebacker positions also. Now on the back end at corner, felt like our corners really had a solid spring. And Chris Davis and Ryan White at the boundary corner, both those guys are veteran guys that understand what's going on. The field corner, Jonathan Mincy and Jonathan Jones. Jonathan Jones, he's not a very big guy, but he really laid some good hits. You saw in the spring game, made an outstanding hit with that. And then Mincy also had a very solid spring, a veteran guy also. At the safety position, Jermaine Whitehead was probably the safety that had had just an excellent spring. Coach Cheese was very high on him, and really did a solid job, along with Ryan Smith at that free safety position. At the boundary safety, Josh Holsey's a guy that was playing corner and transitioned the last week or so of practice to safety, and just came on really strong. And then I wanted to put in Trent Fisher and TJ Davis. Kind of both those guys did some solid things. TJ's a young guy. Trent is a guy that played some last year that really came on with a good spring. And Demetrius McNeil, he is, we took care of all the off the field issues that we had. So he is going to be in the mix. I didn't put him in the top 2 right now, but he'll have a chance in the fall. He's a guy that's played before, and he'll have a chance to get back on the field with that. So that's defensively. Coach Johnson overall, he really worked hard on tackling and just the base fundamentals of playing their assignments. And I really felt like our tackling, it improved. And you saw that in the spring game. There was some good open field tackles, and we will continue to work in that direction. Offensively, up front, Greg Robinson, left tackle, had a very good spring. I think everybody understands how athletic he is, starting to settle down. Sean Coleman, we were very curious how Sean Coleman would come on. He got better and better. You can see his body is starting to react, in a very positive way. We're very proud of Sean and his progression. At left guard, Alex Kozan and Devontae Danzy. Those are 2 guys that played a little bit of center, played a little bit of right guard, and started settling down into that left guard position. And both those guys have a lot of ability. At center, Reese DeSmukes probably had the best spring of any lineman up front. Showed a lot of leadership ability and really led the way. And then Tunde also played center, and we felt like he improved. I know we had the one bad snap, the miscommunication there in the spring game, but I feel like he improved at the center position. Then right guard, Chad Slade, a veteran guy that's played before, and then Jordan Diamond. And Jordan Diamond's a young guy, and we kind of moved him around early too, and then it kind of settled down in there. And he's a guy with, we feel like, a lot of potential, that is a big, strong guy. And then right tackle, Patrick Miller, really improved throughout the spring. He's a very tough guy. And then Avery Young is a guy that couldn't go 100% because of his shoulder and all that, but he did a lot of the stuff, against the scout team, but could not go full tilt as far as his shoulder. But he's a very smart guy and a very athletic guy. Moving to the tailback position, and really, I went ahead and put all 3 of these guys in here because there's, Trey is a guy, I've said before, we kind of know what Trey can do. He had an injury early in fall camp to his ankle, which allowed the other 2 guys, Cameron Artis-Payne and Corey Grant, to get a lot of reps. And both those guys, it was good for them. And you saw Cameron, he had an outstanding spring game. He's one of those downhill guys that falls forward. Corey Grant had a very good spring. And he's a speed guy that once he gets out in the open, it is hard to catch. Quarterback position, I said this before, we've not made any decisions. It's a dead heat. Up to this point, Kyle Frazier and Jonathan Wallace, we gave them equal reps throughout the spring. And towards the end of the spring, we were able to evaluate them better. And both those guys are capable of running our offense. And it'll be really, I'll be curious to see their progress, once we get to fall camp on that. Now, our H-back position, Jay Prosh, he was one of the highlights of the whole spring. Talking about a hard-nosed guy, that is a dirty work type position for us. It takes a smart guy, and him and Ricky Parks are playing that position. And Ricky's a young guy that's coming on. I felt like he improved also, learning the position. Tight end, C.J. Azuma and Brandon Fultz. C.J.'s a guy that is getting used to playing with his hand down, and we worked hard on the blocking part. Now, he's a threat vertically, in the passing game. But we worked hard on that, and then Brandon Fultz, he has some experience with his hand down. At the flanker position, Trevon Reed and Ricardo Lewis, I felt like both had a solid spring. That's a position that we ask to do a little bit more than just a regular receiver. We feel like that position needs to have some running back skills, and both those guys carried the football some, during the spring. Our X position, Jalen Denson, Sammy Coates, both those guys kind of settled down in that position, and at times made some very good plays. We just talk about being consistent, but both those guys are big physical guys. And then slot receiver, Quan Bray. And Quan's one of those real versatile guys. You know, I take you back a couple of years ago, he was actually playing the tailback position. And so he's got running back skills. You'll see us try to get the ball to him in space and let him do his thing as far as that goes. And then really our Y position as far as our three receivers, you know, C.J. Azuma, Brandon Fultz, and then I want to throw Melvin Ray in there too. Melvin Ray's kind of established himself as an inside receiver. He's a strong guy that can do a lot of the dirty work as far as that's concerned. But that's kind of where we left spring. Like we told the guys that, hey, yeah, we've got you in positions, we feel like you can be successful, and now the key is getting better over the summer, and these young guys coming in are going to have a chance to compete for every one of these positions. Our coaches, we've kind of transitioned. Our coaches are hitting the road recruiting, and our players have finals this week. And we'll give them about a week and a half to 2 weeks off to kind of get mentally refreshed, and we'll come back and they'll hit the weight room and everything that goes with that. But overall, I like where our team is mentally. Coming out of the spring, we learned a lot of things from a coaching staff, but I like where we're at. I mean, we've got some work to do. Matter of fact, we got a lot of work to do. But I like where our mindset is. I feel like our team is closer together, and that was important.
What about the return game, your kick and punt returners?
You know what? We did try a lot of different guys out. We didn't go live a whole lot, so I'm not ready to sit here and say, here's our punt returner, here's our kick returner, but there was about 5 or 6 guys that, you know, we gave a chance to. You know, I will tell you, coming out of spring, Cody Parkey, Stephen Clark was our punter and our kicker, but I think that was probably already a good chance that y'all knew that.
If you had to play a game this Saturday, how would it work with the quarterbacks right now?
The good thing is we don't have to play a game this Saturday. If we did, we'd already prepared, we'd had a plan, and we'd named a starter. But it's, you know, it's a little unfair to ask that without us being with a real game.
Is Melvin Wright like inside behind where Quan's playing?
Yeah, he's more of the Y on the line. You know, Quan's more of the slot receiver, the third receiver to the field, the second receiver off the ball. That Y is more of a on-the-ball type deal position that Cody Burns played. You know, a lot of dirty work. Takes a really tough physical guy that can block a Sam linebacker, but at the same time can run a route. So that's kind of where we settled him in.
The fact that either quarterback did distinguish himself this spring, does that make it more likely that whoever comes in this fall for August is going to have an opportunity to start?
Yeah, everybody coming in at every position will have a chance to start, and we feel good about a lot of these guys we signed, you know, having a chance to play. And so it doesn't make any difference whether it's the you know, the running back, the quarterback, or whatever. And so all positions will be open.
Are you disheartened that that neither guy at that position was able to distinguish himself?
You know, not necessarily, because there was some good. Sometimes that's not a negative. Sometimes that means that it's a positive, and you got 2 guys you feel like can do it. It's just a matter of going to give everybody a fair chance. And the quarterback position is a key position that you want to make sure that once you make a decision that you're 100% right. And so, you know, we'll see who gives us the best chance of winning.
Gus, the way you used Ontario in 09 and 10, how would you classify him on a depth chart? I mean, is he like a slot guy, or is he a
yeah, he's a tailback.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a tailback, and you know, you saw Ontario that he did a lot of speed sweep, but he also played traditional tailback. Okay.
How tough is it for the quarterback race, a guy like Jeremy Johnson, Nick Marshall, when they do get in, trying to get up to speed, so to speak, in such a short period of time?
Yeah, there's no doubt that's a challenge. The challenge for the new guys coming in is during the summer. I mean, they've got to have a good understanding, and they've got to have a good understanding of the receivers. But there's a window of time, you know, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that as coaches you got to make a decision. And you know, I know a lot of coaches will wait until the last day before to see who their starter is. You know, my experience is the earlier the better, so you can start, you know, with getting everything that goes with being a leader and all that.
Is Nick Marshall just a quarterback coming in?
Yeah, we are planning on him playing the quarterback position.
Whenever the time comes for you to make a decision on the quarterbacks, how much of a mental challenge is that for not only the guys who are backing up to have to, be in that role, but also for the starter to deal with keeping that position? Because there's no rotation at quarterback like there would be in other positions.
Well, that's in college football or any football period. That's a position that you play one guy, and everything that goes with that, whether you're the starter or the backup trying to earn a position. It's a very tough position to play and to be successful, but the special ones, they thrive on that.
I know Nick has talked about trying to be in school early for the summer, and Jeremy's planning on it. Talk about the importance of that, the earlier the better, and how many of the incoming players do you expect to be in school for the early period?
Well, we're still working through as far as the early here in May. We're still working through that. The quarterbacks, obviously, the earlier the better. If you want to have a chance to compete for the job. It's tough for somebody just to show up in August and win the job because you don't know your receivers and the things with that. But both quarterbacks right now are really, all three are scheduled to be, here, as early as possible.
Other than the quarterbacks, as you went down the roster, which positions were particularly hard to determine a starter and a second guy on that depth chart? Which ones were probably the best positions?
I don't think there's any position that really stands out as far as, because as spring, you're just trying to get two guys in one position. And so, certain positions you have a little more depth, but it was not, there's not one position that really stands out.
Gus, you pleased that your three junior college guys came in and did some good things this spring?
Yeah, there's no doubt. All three guys will help us. All three improved greatly from the first practice, but that's to be expected. They're all coming from different type of backgrounds, and it was a shock to our players' systems that's been here before, much less a new guy coming in. But you saw great improvement, specifically the last week and a half of spring ball with all three of those guys.
With Devontae, is it good to have a guy who can play multiple positions?
Yeah, he's an athlete. He's very athletic and moves very well.
Josh Holsey's certainly known as a quarterback, and even this spring, obviously, it was kind of later that he switched to safety. What did he show you in a short period of time to kind of earn this impact right now?
Well,
You are the only participant on this call. Otherwise, you will be disconnected.
Carry on.
okay, go back to that question.
Yeah,
Distract me a little bit. I thought that was my penalty for being late for the first time. They set me up. Won't be late again.
Josh Holsey, obviously a guy that a lot of people know as a quarterback, even this spring, played at quarterback for Special Over. What did he show you to kind of earn that first?
Well, he is a guy that he's a very good tackler. He had a very good spring at the corner position before we moved him. And as a coach, you're evaluating guys, and you may have two or three at the same position early in spring that you said, boy, that may be one of our best 11 guys. And so you kind of move around, mix and match, and we put him at safety, and he looked like a natural and just made plays. And of course, in the spring game, he played safety and corner. That's hard to do, especially for a young guy.
You mentioned Jermaine and Ryan at one safety. Three at the other. Is Demetrius just at the field safety, or are there some?
Well, he's got the ability. He's a veteran guy. He's got the ability to play both, and really, you're liable to see in fall camp us mix and match and go back and forth. I want to make this clear that we put guys in positions, and they're not set in stone as far as the safeties or even the cornerback position. But Demetrius has the ability to play both, which he has played both, and at times in his career played both well.
As far as Demetrius right now, is he in good standing with you 100%?
Yes, he's in good standing.
So if you guys are still practicing, he'll be back out there playing?
Correct.
So these off the field issues in some way?
They're between me and him. They're taken care of.
Gus, I'd like to ask you about the Big Cat weekend. You guys decided to bring that back. Just talk about the importance it's played in past recruiting classes and what you're hoping to.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's we're really looking forward to that, and that's been a big plus for us in the past, and we're gearing up for another big one.
Could you talk about what you're hoping to accomplish these next couple of weeks as your coaches are out on the road and what they'll be doing?
Yeah, of course they're hitting the road and recruiting, And, you know, we're out there developing relationships, trying to identify the players that fit in our system. You know, and I want to say this too. After a spring with our coaching staff, I'm very impressed. I mean, we've got excellent coaches, and they were all together on the same page. And they're doing a great job in the recruiting area also.
Gus, will you be involved in coaching, not coaching the quarterbacks in fall camp?
I will be involved in the fall on the offensive side. You know, not specifically coaching a position, but I will be involved, you know, in the day-to-day things as far as the offense goes.
So where you were kind of big picturing it in the spring, you might focus a little bit more on the offense in the fall?
Correct.
Okay.
Gus, this past weekend was the NFL draft, and Corey was the only former player selected during the draft process. Several guys signed thereafter, especially when it deals with recruiting, when other teams were able to have more guys selected in the conference teams, that is. How important is it when you're discussing these things in recruiting? How much does that further emphasize the idea of developing players once they're here?
Well, you know, as far as a head coach, you want as many of your guys drafted as possible. I mean, you know, we recruit players that want to go to the next level. We feel great about our staff here. We feel great about the future. And one thing that you'll see is each year we're going to have more and more guys drafted.
Is there any walk-ons or anybody that you've given a scholarship to after the spring? Anything?
Not at this point right now, but we do have some guys that we feel like have a good chance to earn one and to help us on the field.
You mentioned that Quan plays in the slot. Is that kind of his spot? He plays slot receiver?
Yeah, that is his spot. Of course, you know, 2 years ago that was a position that he kind of settled into in this offense. But he's going to give us some versatility to do a lot of different things, you know, with him.
Can he do that speed sweep kind of thing like Ontario did?
He could. There's no doubt.
Who else works that spot with him?
Corey Grant worked at that spot in the spring, and you know, at times did some very good things.
Is that where you feel like Corey would be, or would he be more of a tailback forward?
He'll be both.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got the versatility to be both.
Anything else?
Gus, because it came up in Mike's slide earlier in the week, and it'll probably end up coming up tomorrow with the announcement with the SEC, and Destin later this month, the idea of a 9-game conference schedule, where do you stand on that? Because I know the Big Ten's gone to it.
Yeah, you know, Commissioner Slive, I mean, he's going to do what's best for the SEC, and you know, I feel like he'll make the best decision for our conference.
All right, Coach.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.